Hey everyone, today I thought we'd have a look at how to tie the Cobra weave bracelet with a single strand instead of the usual two, and that way if you ever want to get your cord back you can get it in one long piece instead of two shorter pieces. To make this bracelet today I'm using 290 centimetres of paracord, and that's long enough to make a bracelet 20 centimetres in circumference. And we want to start this off just by finding the centre and pinching off a small loop, and then on the right hand side just make a loop down the bottom and pinch that off. Switch hands and then make another loop down the bottom on the left hand side and pinch that one off. Then we want to take this left hand strand and go across all four of those strands there. Take our right hand strand over, behind everything, switch hands again, and then up through that left hand loop. And then pull that all the way through. Just gently tighten this top knot up. Don't tighten it all the way, but just tighten it so that we have this shape. One loop up the top and two loops down the bottom. Then we want to adjust the length of these loops down here, and we're going to do that by feeding in slack through these edges or these ends. And the left hand strand is going to control the right loop, and the right hand strand is going to control the left loop. So just always keeping it pinched off in the center, feed in a little bit of slack and then pull that slack through. Just a bit at the time's fine. Feed in a bit more slack, pull some through until we get this loop here from this edge to the end of the loop about 2 centimetres less than the circumference of your wrist. My wrist is 20 centimetres, so I want to get this length from here to here about 18 centimetres. And then once we do this loop we want to do the exact same on the other side. As we set the size of these bottom loops, we want to keep this top loop quite small. We just want it about 1/2 centimetre or so, just a little nub that we can pull on towards the end, because we're actually going to make this top loop bigger later on in the process. And we just want to make sure that these two bottom loops are the correct length and also of equal size. And once we've set that, that's the most difficult and fiddly part of the process, and the rest is pretty easy from here. We just want to make sure that this top knot is nice and tight, and then wherever the strand exits downwards, that's where we want to start. So that's on the right hand side here, and we just want to form a loop that crosses over the top of those four strands. Come over with the left hand side, around the back, and then up through that loop, and then pull it all the way through. Just tighten that up, and again wherever it exits downwards, that's where we're going to start, which is on the other side this time, on the left, over all those four strands, over with the right hand strand around the back, and then up through that left hand loop and pull it all the way through. And then again we're going to go to the other side, exits downwards over here, we make our loop on the right hand side over those four strands, over with the left, behind, up through the right, pull it all the way through, And then we'll do the other side. Over, over, behind, and through. And then we just want to keep continuing that process until we get all the way down to the bottom of these loops. So when you get down to the very end, you just want to keep these loops relatively small, and then we just want to finish it off by tucking these ends through, and we want the strand that exits downwards to come up through the loop, and the one that exits up to go down. And if you find that that loop is a little bit small, just open it up with a pen and then stick that end down. And then all we have to do is close these loops up, and we can do that by pulling on this top loop. So we just gently tug on it and pull the rest of the stitches, just tug on it a little bit, grab the top of the bar and then pull those stitches down just by wiggling the bar and pulling, and you should be able to find that you've pulled it all the way down to close these two loops. Then we just need to form a knot for the button, and the easiest way to do that is just to tie an overhand knot, and we'll do that by forming a loop and then tucking those ends through the loop. Just working the knot tight. And that's the simple overhand knot finish. I prefer tying a diamond knot. I think it's more ornamental and it's a bit chunkier, so it holds this top loop better. And I've done another video on that, and I'll just leave a link on the screen here. So if you want to learn how to tie that one, you can tie that one instead. Then whatever knot you decide to tie at the end, the very last thing we need to do is just to snip and singe the ends. Just snip them off, grab a lighter, singe these ends, press it into place, and then that should be your finished piece.